Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here for episode 3 of the National Financial Literacy series that Michelle and I are doing on our channel. So today we're going to be talking about increasing income and decreasing expenses. I personally believe that the two of those together can really help anyone to jumpstart their budgeting process or their savings process or their debt payoff journey, whatever the case is. I have learned ways over the past couple of years since we have been budgeting to increase income and to also decrease expenses. And while I think I've shared some of these tips and tricks with you guys before here on my channel, again, I have kind of learned new ways and thought of new ways, and I have read up on new ways. And so today I want to share with you guys all of the tips and tricks that I know regarding increasing income and decreasing expenses. So if you're interested in hearing about that, then please keep watching. Okay, so let's start with increasing income. I would suggest getting a part-time job. I know a lot of people think that that's probably their go-to method, and it probably is. It's easy to go out and get a part-time job. You can get a part-time job doing what you do at your full-time job, or I think me being the logical and methodical person that I am, it would make a whole lot of sense to get a job at a place where you frequent. So maybe your favorite grocery store, or maybe your favorite clothing store, somewhere that you go a lot to and you spend money, because then you'll get paid cash for the work that you're doing and you'll probably receive a decent discount. So therefore it's kind of like a win-win situation. So I would recommend a part-time job, like I said, either in the same field that you're working in. Of course, you want to make sure that that's a good idea, because you definitely don't want to be burnt out by doing the same thing all day, every day, or however many days it is that you're going to be doing that type of work, or getting a job in a different career field or a different area, but maybe someplace where, like I said, you frequent so that you can get a discount. And like I said, it'll be a win-win situation. So that's suggestion or tip number 1. So I would also recommend maybe babysitting. It can be friends or family members' children, or you can even look on different websites like care.com or sittercity.com and sign up there and, go through that whole process of babysitting, which, is kind of like a more legit way of finding work in that area, because you're screened and you can read up on other people. And obviously there are way more people on there that you can choose from. And also on sites like care.com, you can find housekeeping jobs or cleaning jobs, house cleaning jobs, or even jobs like tutoring. So personally, I used to housekeep for money when I was younger. I used to babysit for money when I was younger, and I used to tutor I used to tutor when I was younger, but that wasn't for money. I did tutor when I was in college for money. So I've actually explored all of these different methods. Not all of them are methods that I've explored, but most of them are methods that I have actually explored. So I would recommend, like I said, signing up for care.com or sittercity.com and maybe trying to look into housekeeping, tutoring, pet sitting, those types of things. Next is another option that I've explored, which is VIPKID. So basically that is teaching kids in China English, and you actually do that from the comfort of your own home. So I actually signed up and tried to go through the interview process. I did make it through the screening process, because you do have to have teaching experience in some capacity and share that. And if you don't, then you might not get through the screening process. But I actually made it through, and I was supposed to do my interview, but then the lady rescheduled it, and then she didn't make it to the second interview. So at that point I just threw in the towel. But I do know people, like personally, who do VIPKID, and there are other companies out there like that as well, where you can teach English to children in China from the comfort of your own home. So next I would recommend maybe Uber or Lyft. Obviously another screening process that you have to go through, but I went through that process as an Uber driver. I did Uber for like a day. Maybe I did it for like a week. I did 3 rides, and then I was like, this isn't for me, because, I kind of had to sit around waiting for rides. So that wasn't really ideal, I think, for the city that I live in. It's not like a large city. So like I said, I was sitting around waiting for rides, and that was kind of annoying. So I was like, we're going to have to figure out something else. But your girl was an Uber driver at one point in time. But I would recommend, like I said, Uber or Lyft, because you can set your own hours. And if you are up to standard and meet all of those prerequisites prerequisites, then you can drive, like I said, whenever you feel like it. Is decent money. I think when I remembered, I think I did a ride that was like $5, and I actually pocketed the vast majority of that. So therefore, I would say that Uber and or Lyft or any other rideshare company would be worth looking into. So going off of that, I would say potentially maybe Shipt, where you shop for other people and you get paid to do that, or maybe even being a delivery driver like Pizza Hut, or, delivering food in some other type of capacity like Uber Eats or whatever. I would say that that's probably worth looking into. Again, for me, whenever I'm looking for a side hustle or some type of part-time gig, I want it to be, worthwhile, profitable, all of that good stuff. So those two options are pretty good. Actually, all of the ones that I've mentioned before pay pretty well. All of the ones that I've mentioned so far pay pretty well. So I would consider or recommend maybe being a delivery driver or doing Shipt. So the next few are options that I have personally found a lot of success in. So my side hustle or part-time gig or whatever it is that you want to call it includes vlogging. So I get paid through Google AdSense for doing this. Just like vlogging, you can also get paid for blogging through Google AdSense or other ad paying companies. Google AdSense isn't the only one. It's just like, I feel like the most popular one and the only one that we can explore on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. But if you're blogging and stuff like that, you can sign up for other ad generating companies. So potentially, if you're into kind of waiting because you're not really going to take off like you might hope, and it's going to be, you're going to have to get your feet wet before you can really start earning money. But I would say starting a YouTube channel or doing some type of vlogging or even blogging are ways to earn money. Also, I sell on Etsy. So if you are creative, even in the least, or know how to make anything, even in the least, you could potentially make a few dollars on Etsy. I think a lot of people get discouraged because they want to make what other people are making, but let's be honest, you're probably not going to do that when you're first starting out. Like, I would be silly to think that I'm going to be making what some of these larger companies are making, that do the same thing that I'm doing. I would be silly to think that I'm going to be making a whole bunch of money like them because I'm new and getting my feet wet. I'm not as experienced. So, when you're selling on Etsy, if you make $200 on Etsy for making something, for cheap or that didn't take a lot of time, then I would consider that to be a success. And I would be happy with that personally. So I would recommend selling on Etsy and also selling on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, stuff like that. If it's not stuff that you want to sell around the house, you might not want to sell, if you're not interested in doing that. I've never sold anything. Since we've been on our financial freedom journey, I don't really have a lot, and what I do have, I don't want to sell. So I've personally never sold. I probably haven't ever sold anything in my life, if I'm being honest, outside of maybe a cell phone so I can use that to use the proceeds to purchase a new one. I don't know that I've ever sold anything for money, but if that's not what you're trying to do, because that's not anything I've ever been trying to do, then maybe you can make things and then sell them on YouTube or why did I say YouTube? Sell them on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or something like that. So you don't have to do the Etsy thing. If you have things that you want to sell locally, people make cups and shirts and whatever the case is, you can explore that option as well. So you don't have to be, on Etsy to sell. You can sell from the comfort of your home or meet people in, local establishments or whatever to sell items. So those are a few of the side hustles that I would recommend possibly exploring to increase income. Again, no matter what it is that you're doing, you want to make sure that you're not wearing yourself too thin and that the job is right for you and it's something that you like doing, even if it's just for the money. So anyway, that's just my personal opinion about side hustles and side gigs. So that's pretty much it as far as my suggestions for increasing income. Let's talk about decreasing expenses. So if you know me, you know the first thing that I'm going to say, which is to cut cable. Or if you're not going to cut cable or cut internet, then maybe you can call and try to decrease the speed of your Wi-Fi or decrease the channels that you have. Personally, I don't watch TV, but my husband does, so we do have cable. And personally, we have like the highest speed of data for our Wi-Fi because I'm not interested in YouTube taking 6 years to upload a video, or my internet taking 6 years to upload a video. But if that's not the case for you, if you rarely use your internet or something like that, then it's probably worth cutting back, scaling back, or just cutting out the expense altogether. So if you know me, you know the next thing that I'm going to say is to switch from postpaid to prepaid. I personally think that postpaid anything is basically a scam because we used to pay like $150 for our cell phones, and now we pay $86.50 for our cell phones, and that's pretty much as we'll ever pay because I have unlimited everything and my husband has everything but unlimited data, but he doesn't really use his data, so there's no point to be paying for data that he's not going to use. That would just be unnecessary. So again, I say switch to prepaid. I know people have, they have, I guess it's like I don't want to say it's, I don't know. People don't really like the idea of like AT&T prepaid, which is what we have. It used to be AT&T Go Phone. They don't really like the idea of Boost Mobile, Metro PCS, or whatever the case is. But I mean, it all works the same. If you live in a city like me, which is not like a large city, but I'm never without cell phone service ever, no matter where I go. Even when I go to work, which is in more of a rural area, I always have cell phone service. So I would recommend switching from postpaid to prepaid and quickly to save on your cell phone bill. So another method that I would recommend, and all of these are of course methods that I have at least thought about or attempted to do, and that is maybe switching from shopping at Whole Foods and shopping at Aldi. And obviously you don't have to get all of your items from the cheaper store, but you can find some quality items at those stores and maybe just pick up those specific items like produce or whatever, and maybe get your meats from Whole Goods. Why am I saying that? I'm putting Whole Foods and Home Goods together because where I used to live, they were literally right beside each other. But you can maybe get your meats or something from Whole Foods or whatever items it is that you want to get. But I would recommend maybe trying to shop at places where the food is good and decent, but maybe less expensive. I personally love Walmart because I just think that it's cheaper than Kroger. For sure, you won't catch me in Kroger. I will not. I only go to like Whole Foods and stuff like that if there's something that I really need. But for the most part, I feel like we get a bang for our buck and are able to keep our grocery budget to like a decent amount by shopping at Walmart. Also, it's across the street and I don't feel like driving anywhere but to the nearest place. So I do recommend that. Also, along with that is maybe couponing. We have attempted to coupon. I feel like when I'm taught about couponing, it involves time, and I really don't have any time to coupon. So that's kind of like the only thing that keeps me from couponing, because I don't really have time to coupon. I would love to, but I don't really have that much time to coupon. But I would say maybe trying out couponing. I mean, if you're doing couponing to a degree where you're really saving money, then I mean, it's essentially like having a part-time job, in my opinion. A few other suggestions that kind of goes along with the whole grocery budget and food stuff is maybe buying in bulk. I try to buy pretty much all of our toiletries in bulk, and even whenever I'm buying like cheese and stuff like that, I try to buy a larger package. Even though it's going to cost more initially, it will last us a month or 2 months, or however long up until we use it all or until it expires, whichever comes first. And it actually just makes more financial sense to go that route. Also, on the extreme end, you could probably forego eating out on certain occasions. I mean, we used to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars eating out every month. And when we started to cook at home and eat at home, we were able to, it was basically like getting another paycheck, because we were the money that we were spending on eating out, we were saving, which was a lot of money. So it felt like having a part-time job, or, just having extra income. So extreme method, stop eating out, or you can potentially cut back eating out, which is pretty much the method that we have explored. Also, again, like I said, cooking at home is obviously a sure way to decrease your grocery budget or your food budget for the month. Next up, I'm going to suggest giving yourself an allowance. So we take $100 allowance every month. So far this month, in April, I haven't even spent any of my allowance. My husband has spent about half of his, I think like $40 or so. So giving yourself an allowance that is feasible, I think, is a great way to decrease your expenses, because you're not going to be spending money all willy-nilly if you have an actual budget for your spending money. Some people call it spending money, blow money. I call it an allowance because I am allowing myself to spend a certain amount of money. So I personally believe that putting allowances into play helped me to really curb my spending habits. So the next one is one that I really wish that I could explore and do, which is public transportation, aka like the city bus. I am not really a fan of driving. If my commute to work wasn't so long, and if I don't think a bus would even take me there, first of all. And then my issue would be I use my car for work. So that's basically the main issue there. But if it did, I would totally do public transportation, because that's going to save so much money. So if you are able to use public transportation, I am going to recommend that, or carpooling. Again, I would love to carpool, because I just love that. I used to carpool with my husband. It was super fun. Anyway, if I could carpool to work, I definitely would, but I need my car for work. So that's pretty much a no-go. But if you can do that, I'm going to recommend that. Next up is another more like extreme method, but let's say you have a vehicle that you don't really use, an extra vehicle, you could sell it so that you can get cash for it, but also because you can decrease expenses related to that, such as registration fees and car insurance fees and all of that. We have 2 cars. We need 2 cars. I guess we need 2 cars. We probably could forego a car, but it would just make life a little bit more difficult, like me having to get up an hour, probably 2 hours before I do now to drop my husband off, because he doesn't need a car for work. So I would then drop him off and take myself to work, which is what we once did when his car was down and in the shop. But again, if you have a car that you really don't need, you can do away with that, sell it, and then again, like I said, take the proceeds and cut out some of those expenses related to having that additional car or vehicle. The next thing that I'm going to suggest or recommend is Autopay for your bills. And I know that some people are not here for that. I have always had Autopay, whether or not I had, extra funds or savings or whatever or not. It just makes life easier, for one. And second of all, I save probably by having Autopay for some of my bills a good maybe like $40 a month for having Autopay, because like for our cell phone bill, we save $15 a month for having Autopay. We save on interest for our student loans for having those set up on Autopay, et cetera, et cetera. So Autopay is worth exploring if you're going to get some savings. And along with that, I would say if you can, to start paying your premiums in full. Last time we paid our car insurance in full, we saved like $250, $300 just by paying the premium in full. So again, I would recommend doing that as well. Another thing that I would recommend is shopping around for insurances. Now, you don't want to go flip-flopping from insurances all willy-nilly, but you do want to make sure you're getting the best rate. So I was with Progressive for a long time, and then basically I don't know what happened. I think I got speeding tickets, and they were like not trying to insure me anymore. Actually, I think they kicked me off, and they were trying to recommend some other like third party progressive insurance situation for like people who were in my situation, and it was like super expensive. So I just switched providers, and I went to Geico, and they were far less expensive than the amount that, I was going to be paying with that third party situation. And then eventually I actually switched back to Progressive, because after those speeding tickets and stuff fell off, I was able to be insured at like a more reasonable rate. So like I said, I wouldn't recommend going shopping around like, all out of control, but it is worth exploring other insurance options, because you could potentially be paying way more than what you need to be paying for insurances. So another method that we like to explore, or we like to use, is unplugging plugs that are not being used, like electrical plugs. We normally don't really have them plugged in, only really like TVs and like the washer and dryer and the refrigerator, obviously, but everything else we actually tried to unplug, which is kind of easy because a lot of the things are, we have like a surge protector and they're all plugged into that, so we can just unplug the surge protector and boom, we're able to save on our electricity bill. Like for this month, our electricity bills, well, for March, even considering the fact that we live in Georgia, our bill for March, which we'll pay in April, is going to be $66, which is pretty good because we do like to practice unplugging cords and also turning off the AC and not using it. Again, that's more of like an extreme method, and I don't really explore that or use that really in the summer. But when it's like spring and not too hot, we'll just forego the AC and try to remain cool by using fans. We have fans in pretty much every room. I even have a portable fan. It's real in here. So that's just an easy way to cut expenses, because before I was being cognizant of the AC and the electricity and all of that, our bill was like double or triple the amount that it is now. So it was worth just, being mindful of that. So the last thing that I'm going to recommend for decreasing expenses is to cancel memberships or subscriptions that you're not using. If the subscription or membership brings you joy and you use it every month or however it is, whatever it is, it could be, every 3 months or whatever. If you're using it and it brings you joy, I would say obviously keep it. But if it's an expense that you don't really need, a gym membership that you haven't used in a year, the likelihood of you using it the next month, it's pretty much the chances are slim to none. So it's probably worth just canceling if you can. Of course, sometimes there are fees that you have to pay and all of that, so you have to weigh your options. But if you're not using these subscriptions or these memberships like Hulu and Netflix and stuff like that, then it is definitely worth canceling them altogether to save money. So those are just some of the tips and tricks and recommendations that I would suggest as far as increasing income and decreasing expenses. If you know of any others that you've explored that you have found successful, definitely leave those in the description box. Just kidding. Leave those in the comment section so that others can read up on those. If I think of any others, I will leave those down below as well. Make sure you check out Michelle's video. She is going to be covering the exact same topic. Not sure if she's going to be covering topics that she's explored or just ones that she's heard of, but it's definitely worth checking out. And also, if you're going to be in the New York area in May, particularly May 18th, make sure that you purchase you a ticket so that you can attend the budget workshop that Michelle and I will be hosting in New York May 18th. That is it for this video, you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.